So thank you guys all for coming out to panel number 3. Today we're going to talk about money. All right, so let's talk about investing into the Bitcoin ecosystem. And this is a really interesting and fun new area that we're going to explore, because this is still very new. Like, if you were to ask, okay, tell me about a successful Bitcoin ecosystem project, I don't think you can actually answer that question yet. Sure, there's been a lot of TVL. Sure, there's been a lot of interesting concepts or ideas or things like that. But I think it's still very new and very, very early stage for compared, let's say, to Ethereum or other chains and things like that. So I think we've got some really exciting people on the panel today. A good mix of crypto native and also people who have very little experience in the crypto industry. And I think that's a pretty fun and exciting mix. So first, what we're going to do is we're just going to go one by one, and we're just going to give a quick 1-minute introduction or 2-minute introduction about about yourself, and then also talk about a little bit of background on your fund. Yeah, let's start here.
Okay. Hello everyone, thanks for your time to come here. So I'm Effie from D11 Labs. We are a venture studios with 100 million funds, and actually our co-members are having from the Web2 and Web3 companies like Tencent, Alipay, or OKX or Binance. So we quite have a mixed experience in investing in the cryptos or traditional industries. So we're quite experienced in operations, marketings, Yeah, quite like that. So, and thanks for your invitations, and happy to join these panels to discuss with you all. Thank you.
Sure. Hello. Push the push button.
Hello. Thanks, Eric. I'm Taylor Meyer. I spent the first 20 years of my career in traditional financial services. We call it the TradFi, so I'm here for the TradFi perspective. I basically worked in mostly related to property, so every type of financial service that can be performed related to property I've done. I've bought properties, I've financed properties. I started my career in fixed income, so on that last panel I almost jumped up here and down the stage because when it got a little heated. Then I've also provided some restructuring, some investment banking services to real estate companies. I did that for 20 years. Then I started my own business back in 2018. I sold it, and now I'm here in Singapore running a family office. And I'm new to the crypto space, as Eric was saying. But I've invested in a few projects and a lot of early stage and angel type investing I look at, and that includes the crypto space. So that's me.
Hello everyone, I'm John Sienna from Web3 Ventures. I've been involved in the crypto space for over a decade, and as well as my partners, Patrick Dai and Stella Kong. We all work together at Quantum, also the token's name is Qdom. So we're all also former founders. Stella also started PA News, which is one of the largest media outlets in Asia. And I also founded Nifties.com, which helped big brands enter the NFT space. But at Quantum, I used Bitcoin's UTXO model and combined that with the EVM from Ethereum. So we have a lot of experience building with Bitcoin's UTXO model, and as well as developing an EVM ecosystem, which is where we see a lot of the innovation today.
Hey everyone. I'm Robert. I'm taking a place here of a colleague. Oh, does it work?
Does it work now? Oh, yes. So hey everyone, I'm Robert. I'm taking a place here of a colleague. I'm from Native, co-founder of Native. We are collaborating with Zulu, so thanks for the invite. My personal background is in commodity trading, private banking. I was working in a Swiss stock exchange, also doing some investment in the startups back in the days. And then, full in crypto. I'm one of the co-authors of Go Ethereum, the main Ethereum implementation. was a lead in Cosmos, yeah, and then now co-founding Native, which is providing the zero trust architecture for Bitcoin and with that asset management and interoperability.
Awesome, thank you. So here is the first question for each of you guys. The first question is, when you look at, obviously, as we said, Bitcoin ecosystem is still very new. But when you're looking at Bitcoin ecosystem projects, what are some key elements that you like to look at and, or criteria that you like to examine? Sorry.
Yeah, I think the following point focused by the D11 Labs. The first one is that if this project tap into the Bitcoin's value, because for a long time we've seen the Bitcoin as a store of value, and over 1 trillion Bitcoins just sitting over there and do nothing, very unproductive. So I think that's why when the BTC upgrades happens and the emergence of the encryptions happens, people are really enthusiastic in the BTC ecosystem because you trying to unlock the potential of the BTC's value. So I think the project sitting in that ideas quite intrigues us. For example, like the PAL network is one of our portfolio, and they're doing the restakings and to build the AWS networks to generate the next layer of yield for the BTC holders. So I think those projects are really interesting to us. And the second one is that if these projects have the positive impact on the BTC ecosystem, because we saw that the industry tensions shift into the BTC ecosystem, and a lot of projects name them as BTC projects. But what we think is that they're just trying to catch the BTC trend. So if they are really needed in the BTC ecosystem, if they are driving the wider adoptions or enhanced the use case or facilitate the infrastructures is really important. So we look into the projects who have those things to help and have a positive impact on the BTC ecosystem. And the third one is security. So BTC, I think people are really cherish their BTC. So they, for example, like doing the risk-taking projects, you really need to stake your BTC into this project. So security is one of the top priority for the investors to consider if you are okay to trust. So when we screening the projects, our tech people will to go through their architectures to see that if they adopted the advanced security measurements and to help to secure the users' funds. And also it's really important for the investors to secure their tokens and funds. And what else? And the teams, of course, it's all graded by all the teams. So I think a professional core teams help us to realize these good ideas. So and also when you doing a project, you will have a lot of challenges and problems to deal with along the way. So professional teams can address those problems very well. And also I wanted to address one is that when we screening all those projects, co-teams, I think the personalities of the co-founders is really important. I think some co-founders are really introverted, but they have the personal charisma to gather the people around him and believe in him or her. I think those are important. And some of the co-founders are my extrovert, and they are open to speech and gathering all the resources and making friends. It also helps the projects to connect all the resources to help them grow. So I think the core team is really important. Yeah.
I would say that as far as which projects within the Bitcoin ecosystem I find appealing from an investment standpoint, I would say that I'm not nearly knowledgeable enough to choose which DeFi project is going to be the winner or which NFT project is going to be the winner. So from my more, I guess, simplistic understanding, I would rather invest in the ecosystem itself or something that supports the ecosystem itself, like infrastructure or some sort of service to the ecosystem, that's kind of agnostic to all these different DeFi and NFT applications. I don't know which one's going to win. The new, I think I like the new paradigms of multi-chain systems. So interoperability, and versatility of a project is appealing. Additionally, I would say those are kind of the two major, I guess, concepts I have as far as the ecosystem investment.
Yes, I'd agree with that. The team and the tech are first and foremost for us. We back some of the greatest teams in the industry because we believe that the tech that they build is just unparalleled to any other team. They usually have some novel approach, but the tech has to be trustless because people in the Bitcoin ecosystem really care about non-custodial Bitcoin use cases. So like Babylon with non-custodial staking, you're able to get a yield, but you don't have to give up your Bitcoin. And then also like Lombard, which is also leveraging Babylon's yield, but to have like a liquid more form of Bitcoin for the DeFi ecosystem. And then these other teams like Botanics who are building a layer 2, but using a kind of a novel multi-sig, their spider chain approach, which is pretty interesting. And I think it's going to bring a lot of people into the industry because if you're like an early OG, it's always like this Bitcoin and shitcoin kind of world. So if you could have it more focused on Bitcoin and not some new token, it could appeal to a much more broader audience. So team and tech.
I like the introduction to this talk when you said, let's talk about money. So actually when we talk about investment, yes, there is this money component that it's actually all about. So yes, in that frame, like how do you make money? Or how do investment make money? So there are two ways usually. One, either speculation, or second, revenues. Right? So people say that at the beginning, like you guys already frame it, team is important because ultimately it's the team to deliver and to make that revenue happen or speculation happen in one way or another. So then like depending, yes, if you want to invest in a speculation, then probably the team should be very diligent and oriented towards that and play on the right moment, right? So actually, interestingly enough, I was earlier today I was talking about different investment strategies. If you look from the traditional perspective, big ICOs, 2018, or is it 17, right? That happened. Each of them have a good revenue stream. Almost none. Did the investment make money? Yes. Would the investment be successful today? Probably not. Okay. Now, just to give you a few examples, Tezos, Polkadot, Eternity, Gnosis, right? I mean, I don't want to say bad words about these guys, right? Many of them, they try, they build, they go ahead. Yeah, but there is no revenue stream. However, yes, from the investment perspective, yes, the investment narrative back on that time, yes, was different. So, yes, investing is changing, right? But here is, if you define the thesis, you need to also frame it with the market. The market is changing. Yes, there is less capital for doing the speculation because many of them, like I said, failed. So let me just close with that. Maybe we could follow up later.
I just want to tell a random funny story in between. Okay, so before I got into the crypto industry, I worked for 7 years at one of the largest marketing consulting firms in Canada. And I helped launch, I used to work with McDonald's, and I helped launch McCafe coffee across Canada. And we would always look at new products and looked at how we could launch these products and how to market them, basically. And one of the most interesting situations that I found myself in, and I'll never forget this, was we were looking at salads, and if you guys remember, several years ago there was a movie that came out, Super Size Me, and people were like really thinking, okay, McDonald's is terrible, like it's so unhealthy, it's like terrible, it's evil, all these kind of things. And McDonald's was very nervous, and they were thinking, okay, what are we going to do? We need to change, everyone's telling us they want healthier options, healthier options, healthier options. So we went around the country, and we met with all of the people in the target audience, a certain age of women, and who kept telling us, we want salads, we want salads. And they were like, okay, what kind of salads do you want? What options do you want in your salads? How do you want us to market it to you? And people would and this is about human beings, right? They would basically lie to us. They would say, oh, I just want a salad with this topping, or I want this or that. And I'll never forget this. There was this one woman who just stood up in the middle of the focus group, and she says, "A salad at McDonald's? I'm not going to McDonald's to buy a salad. I want to go to McDonald's and I want to get dirty. I want a greasy hamburger, greasy fries, and I want a McDonald's. I don't want to go there for a salad." And I think that one of the really interesting things, jumping off of what you were talking about, and the last panel as well, we were talking about what's sustainable yield, what's all these things. I would honestly argue, after the 7 or 8 years that I've been in this industry, that I don't think people actually want that. I think people just say, oh, we need sustainable yield. We need more institutional grade this, we need more this. But actually, people just want to degen and do crazy things. And that's actually what I've been seeing.
Money.
It's just money, right? And we talk about, I want sustainable yield. I want, this solid 10%, give me that. Yeah, there's a lot of great options like that already in the traditional industry. Why would I go to some random protocol I've never heard and say, let's trust this? Don't worry, just put your Bitcoin here. It's I promise it's safe. And then just we'll give you the crazy yields. So I think that's one of the very interesting, avenues right now is we have to understand what's the true insights and what's really going to drive this Bitcoin native yield and what's going to drive the next DeFi summer. So I think that's going to be a really interesting direction.
Yeah, if I just might add something, in traditional startup, so I was doing also a lot of startup advisory. Number one thing is identify your user, right? How many infrastructure projects? Who is identifying the user? Right? The digit meme coins, they're identifying the user. So that's why some of them were successful. Of course, millions of them have not been successful, but those who are, you will think about how it's possible they made the money. They did identify the user and they targeted them.
Yeah, totally. And you kind of are answering the next question I was going to ask, which is, in 1 or 2 sentences, how would you say to identify, as an investor, how would you say to identify great opportunities for the next opportunities within the Bitcoin ecosystem? So I'll take that as your answer, which is just
how I identify my user?
Really identify, know your target.
Well, I can respond it from the perspective of native.
Sure.
Right, so, just for a context, so we are creating the Zero Trust architecture, right, for creating core applications on DeFi and interoperability to the whole ecosystem. So we are collaborating with Zulu on that subject. So, yes, we are thinking about this, how we make money, yes, from this perspective. And who's our users, who's going to pay for that, right? Because in Bitcoin, if you understand the Bitcoin ecosystem today, the users don't actually use Bitcoin. They keep it. They delegate it to custodian solutions, right? But they don't play with it, on chain. So it's still not proven, or will be hard, yes, all those solutions, if you want to do it natively on Bitcoin directly, yeah, so is it going to work, it's not going to work, this is something to test out, right? But there are a few things that we already know, yield, like you mentioned, right? Generating, this works. how we can do it. Is bubble enough? I would argue not. Yes, there is the target here is a long tail of small chains that can provide yield. And then you need to compete it with actually the Bitcoin terms, is what Bitcoin yield can offer. And then on the layer 2 side, right? What kind of options we can create? Yeah, so you have a good, UTXO, there's a lot of people who are thinking how we can program UTXO, how we can do it, right? So Zulu has a market here. And so for us, from my perspective, is right, how we can empower it to make it more secure, more trustful, and then really interoperate. Because from our perspective, we see that Bitcoin is a very underserved market. Yeah, so that's why we see 80+ layer 2s, hundreds of other protocols that are trying to do something in this market and compete. Some of them will succeed, some of them will not succeed. Our bet is that we want to provide interoperability and power them so those different protocols can actually compose between one and another.
Awesome. We'll come back this way. So John.
Yeah, I would say our industry is very narrative driven. So that's why I mentioned when it's tech and team that usually fits the narrative if it's going to succeed, because Bitcoin maxis, frankly, are very loud. So they dominate the thought sphere within Bitcoin. And if it doesn't have good tech, they're going to let you know. And then you can't ride the narrative. So that's why I do think Bitcoin native yield on-chain is very different than giving it to a custodian, because we've seen time and time again what happens when you give your Bitcoin to a custodian for yield. You end up losing it all, or 90%. So yeah, it has to be narrative driven, and it has to have good tech and a good team. So that's how you make money.
Okay, so native yield. I think what you were saying about people wanting to shoot the moon and make a ton of money, I think that era is maybe winding down, largely with the advent of ETFs for Bitcoin is a big deal. So I just looked up the market cap of Bitcoin ETFs is $80 billion. So you've got $80 billion of institutional capital that's just come into the market. I don't think they're trying to shoot the moon. I think they put it in this ETF as probably a hedge or a portfolio diversifying measure, and they're not trying to shoot the moon. But when they realize that they've put this $80 billion out, and it's generating no yield, not even on a money market savings account, they're going to start putting pressure on the DeFi development community. And so I think that's what's exciting. That's how it moves from a store of value. That's kind of step one to me, is that if they can, like I said, they come to their senses, because essentially it's like cash sitting under the mattress right now. And they're going to say, okay, if I'm going to hold this Bitcoin, I want it to generate something. And for it to generate something, they need to put it they need to lend it effectively. And lending it effectively means you need to have a borrower who needs to use it to do something. So it's all kind of so once someone decodes this DeFi riddle, I think that it could really, really take off and get very institutional very fast.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I understand this question as different ways that since this BTC ecosystem is growing very fast, there will be more and more projects in this ecosystem, and how can we identify a good projects to be invested in? But I think from my perspective, it's really hard to find a hidden gem that no one else knows, but just you noticed it. So I think for our D11 Labs, we leverage the experts' energies on that. So when we dip into an ecosystem, sometimes we find those grant programs which the other ecosystems support, and we screen the projects from those programs, because there must be reasons for those ecosystems to pick out those projects to be funded with. So we will look into those projects and to see if there are potential collaborations or opportunities to invest in. And also, I think for BTC ecosystem, it's quite tech-driven, and a lot of projects are open-sourced, And our tech team are frequently monitoring the open source platform like GitHub and to see that what kind of topics or projects are publishing their codes and how active they are. And also they are going to these tech forums to understand what those code developers are talking about. If there are new technologies or new projects they're interested in, then we spot those interest and dig into it and to see that if there is opportunities to be invested in. And also we travel around and to attend different conferences, hackathons, and different projects debut on those conferences. And we see if there are potential opportunities and we communicate with them, brainstorm with them, and to grow with them. Yeah.
Awesome. So, you know, the Bitcoin ecosystem is really like on the precipice, and you know, but as we've said, it's still very early, and there's no clear winners or use cases yet. Let's be honest, right? You know, we've seen Babylon, we've seen things like that, but it's not launched. It's not fully out there and commercialized yet. So, how do you guys see, you know, projects and investors being able to work together to build this in a meaningful way? Like what ways, you know, within like, I'd say 1 or 2 minute answer, would you guys say is like a way to actually like collaborate and foster this like new paradigm together? I'll start.
Okay, as you said, this is a very early stage for BTC ecosystem. I think the first thing is be patient, supporting those long-term projects, those visions that align with the investors, and just for those quick return projects, just skip them and to support those long vision term projects and grow them together. And another thing is mentorships. I think because for a lot of investors, we see a lot of different projects and we experienced a lot. We made mistakes and we gathered the lessons from those experiences. So we definitely share our experience to those new projects and to see that how can they avoid them. And also we connect all the resources to them and to help them. So for example, in our ventures, we are really hands-on. We have project managers for each portfolio. If they need us to support them anything, we can do anything. Actually, I will set up a booth for our portfolios tomorrow. So, you know, just help them as much as you can. And I think the third one is that to create synergies, because we have different portfolios, and if we can facilitate the partnerships between them and to ask them to hold hand to grow this ecosystem together, I think that would be better. Yeah. Thanks. Thank you.
The question is how can investors and project developers work together? I don't think you're going to like my answer, and it's kind of antithetical to what crypto stands for, but I think the industry is obviously in its infancy, and it's very fragmented, and I think it can use some consolidation and coordination of some sort. And like I said, it's antithetical to what crypto stands for, but a centralized maybe trade union or a trade advocacy group that could help with marketing, you know, interfacing with the media, interfacing with governments and regulators, like, and kind of maybe even publishing a magazine that people outside of the industry actually read, or running, you know, advertisements in the Wall Street Journal, whatever, educating the mass public and making it more mainstream. And another thing I've observed about this industry is like the nomenclature, the vocabulary is all over the place, and the jargon is running wild. And so everybody's just really confused, the mass public. So I'd say it's a coordinated, centralized voice speaking for crypto somehow, well, I think would go a really long way.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think there's been like some approaches to that. Not all have succeeded, but some have done all right, like Coin Center. But I think Bitcoin is strong because it is this decentralized force where everybody can go and call their representative in the US or their senator and voice their opinion. And the fact that we have different opinions is what makes Bitcoin strong. So yeah, unified voice, it works sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. But sometimes a million different phone calls makes a bigger impact. So getting back to the question at its core is, yeah, how can investors help projects? Most investors don't help projects. They just get in the way. I think Web3 is a bit different because, yeah, we are former founders. We've worked with Bitcoin's code and EVM code. So we have a lot of experience and we're able to give our insight. We also have a lot of capital that we could deploy to the chain so they could improve their TBL and have more liquid DeFi solutions. And then also, of course, you want to create synergies within your portfolio because it's just a win-win-win all around. So yeah, we always do that. We always ask our portfolio, how can we help? Whether it's, yeah, I'll text them. I'm like, hey, if you're not here, let me know who you want to reach. And I'm going to find them and make a group for you. And then, yeah, get out of the way when we can and help when they ask.
That's great.
Yeah, I would just say shortly, smart money. So, yeah, be smart and like use the money smart in a wise way, both for the founders and for the investors. Right? If someone is asking for 10 million, how do you use it? What's the plan? Do you need the 10 million now? Do you need 16 million now? Why? Like in a traditional sense, like, oh, 16 million, that's already, like, if you think, for example, how the funds were structured. I mean, I'm from Europe, right? So funding in Europe is different than funding in US. There are many jokes about that. Yeah, but in general, smart money, I think that's the long-term answer is for sustainable investment. Because both if the investors go into the FOMO race and just pulling out like at the end of the last year dozens of millions for projects without product market fit, right? Then there can be blood on the street because so many millions can be wasted. On the other hand, yes, like the projects that may need a smaller capital, right? But then have a harder time to prove themselves. Yes, I think smart money is very important, both from the projects, right? So sometimes it's good to educate the projects. What is the path to succeed? How this should be framed, put together, and there's already a lot of collaboration between different investors. Actually, I think that helps as well.
Thank you. I'm going to weigh in on this one also. I think that for the Bitcoin ecosystem to succeed, there is one clear thing that is lacking, and that is liquidity. I think that we can talk all we want about the tech, we can talk all we want about the team, we can talk about all these narratives and all these different things, but I think that fundamentally, and it's also the market cycle as well, but fundamentally, there needs to be new avenues and ways to tap into liquidity. One of the reasons why a bunch of layer ones have been successful in the past has been, for example, like Solana, for example, like Ethereum, etc., is because they have a lot of liquidity and they have a lot of users. Right now, one of the core problems facing the Bitcoin ecosystem is fragmentation. And fragmentation includes liquidity. So I think that, for this thing to succeed, I think it's beyond just getting a bunch of OGs to put money into this ecosystem. Because I actually think that they won't. That's my honest opinion. I think that actually if we really understand the users, and this is coming from spending the last almost 1 year deeply talking to a lot of people about Bitcoin layer 2s and ecosystems, I actually think the real users are actually more the BNB chain and the Ethereum and all these other more EVM focused chains, and the degens, if you will. I think that's really the core audience currently, And then once there's traction from there, it can expand to new areas. That's my honest opinion. But, you know, that's just my thinking. And then the last final question is, and it's a loaded question, but try to answer it in one sentence or two sentences. Is investing in crypto projects hard? Start with you, yeah.
I guess yes. Yes, because it's, it's still a lot to prove, right? And on the one hand side, the DeFi is overloaded, but this is the what works. On the other hand, there's still a lot to prove, and this is difficult.
I would agree, yes, it's difficult. Yeah, my partners and we all lost a lot of money our first few years of investing, but you have to pay for your education.
I think I've misunderstood the question. Is the question, is it easy to invest or is it easy to invest successfully?
Is investing in crypto hard?
I would say no. I mean, compared to, investing in crypto, it's, I had an address, I had my wallet, and it was done. Like, you invest in a real estate deal, you have to sign all sorts of documents and open all sorts of accounts and all these regulatory people are getting to know your financial sophistication and all these questions. And you got to open some brokerage account at some bank. I mean, it's easier.
Okay.
I'm not saying you're probably more likely to lose money, but it's easier to put it out.
I think that's a fun perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed, it's difficult. It's hard to understand some projects, to be honest, technically. So for me, it's so difficult. And I think one thing I wanted to point out is that regulation things. Yeah, because in these fields, the regulation is uncertain and it's constantly shift. So our investment will be affected by those regulation things. So it's add an extra layer of hard investing in the crypto projects. Yeah.
I will say that the answer in terms of investing, in terms of the mechanics of investing, I would agree, it's definitely easier. But I would say investing in crypto is beyond difficult. And I think that from the 7 or 8 years that I've been in this industry, let's think about all the projects that have come out. From what I've seen, I would say it is so difficult to pick a winner because I've seen some projects that have stacked tech, the best, in terms of the team. It's all-star level team with this guy went to Stanford and this person is a PhD and this one, it's the greatest team on paper. And then it just dies the second it gets launched. And it can have the best tech. And then I've seen on the other side, the most garbage projects ever come out and then just 200x, we talk about team and tech. And I've seen, for example, at the end of the day, the holy grail in this industry is listening to finance, right? At the end of the day, liquidity still drives this. And so, you look at Binance, for example, and they say, we really want to evaluate the tech, we really want to do this. It's all about severe due diligence, we're going to watch you for 1 year, and then they list a project like Dogs. And there's no rhyme or reason whatsoever, and these projects can do crazy stuff on the market. So the answer from my perspective is beyond difficult. It's literally picking a needle in a haystack. So that's my honest opinion. So anyways, I want to thank you guys so much for a very compelling panel and talking about this crazy crypto investing world that we live in. So thank you guys.